Welcome to another episode of the Hospitality Mentor Podcast. Today, I'm very excited to have Radi Garov, the general manager at Soho Beach House, here with us. Radi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Steve. It's really an honor.
I've been waiting to get you on. I'm excited to learn about your current position, but we always start with the same question. What was your very first job in hospitality?
So like many people who move into the US, I moved to the US following my family, and they were settled in small town in North Carolina, Sunset Beach, which is very near Myrtle Beach. Both kind of resort towns with a lot of golf courses, a lot of hotels. And as I was going to school, trying to learn English and speak fluently, everything was new to me. I was in a new country, a new culture,
Where
new
were you
way of
living
life.
before?
Sorry.
Where were you living before?
So I moved from
Bulgaria.
Eastern
Okay,
Europe,
perfect.
small country near Greece and Turkey. But yeah, everything was like, wow, everything was new. But I had to start work. And as you can imagine, not knowing anybody, not being from there, I was advised that maybe should go to an agency, employment agency, and see what kind of work comes up. And I was asked, what do you prefer to work? Obviously, I picked hotels because there were plenty of them and golf courses. And I was sent to this uh, golf resort, had over probably 1,000 rooms, had three golf courses near the beach. And I worked in banquets. So you could say my first position was like a banquet houseman. I was moving tables, moving chairs, setting up the rooms before the dinners. And this was my basically daily activity. I had a great manager, which I've connected with, and eventually helped me become an employee of that resort. So basically, that's how it all started.
That's
Uh,
amazing. What was the name of that resort?
it's called Sea Trail Golf Resort and Convention Center. Had a lot of convention space for large events, but it also had a restaurant. It had a pool bar. It had beverage and food service around the golf course. This is how I began
Yeah, it's a good
learning
position to be
hospitality.
in a hotel.
Yeah,
That was actually my second job was in Banquet Houseman, and it was maybe one of the hardest, definitely harder than working at the pool and beach where I started, like, moving those tables and stacks of chairs and getting everything set up was always hard. And when you were in
yeah.
Bulgaria, was this something that you wanted to do, like work in hotels, or did you have different dreams before you hit this first time North Carolina?
Honestly, it was new to me. I never dreamt of working in hospitality, but I had to simplify it in my head because hospitality can be very complicated, but it can also be very simple. Um, I found myself in a place and I started learning the basics.
Oh, it's a good place
Um,
to do. And you were there for a while. You were there for 4 years. So did you grow within that hotel, or were you always in that banquet
yes,
position?
I started in banquets. As I said, I was first from a temp agency, which are
Yep.
very popular now because
Everyone needs
shortage of,
staff.
yes. And as I said, I work hard, build a connection, and eventually got hired in banquets, um, and moved on from being a houseman to a banquet server. Learn the menus, the beverages we serve. But what was motivating me in the back of my head was I had a extreme like hunger to know more. So I continuously read books on service, what is proper service, what is casual service, what type
Mhm.
of venues there are, upscale, casual, cafes. So I just continued learning, and they soon onboarded a F&B director who kind of gave me a direction. And As your podcast is called The Hospitality Mentors, literally everything I've learned today is because of I found myself across some working with some great mentors. So it started early there, you
And so
know.
who is this person? Because that's very unique, right? A director of food and beverage coming in. You're in banquet server, so he must have seen something going on. What was that? Who how did that happen?
Um, he moved in from Texas. He he used to work in big resorts there, and I connected with him, and he's like, look, if you want to move up, if you want to work in a restaurant, if you want to be a server in a restaurant, you need to learn the steps of service. You need to learn food. You need to learn the beverages we offer, the cocktails. You need to learn the POS. As he was telling me this, I began learning everything step by step. I learned the menu. I learned the cocktails, the wines. I learned the steps of service. I learned how to use the POS. And one day I came to you and I said, look, I'm ready to be a server. Like, I don't want to work in banquets anymore.
Mm.
If it's a possibility, I'd like to move into the
Yeah.
restaurant. So that's how it began. And from the restaurant, I was serving for a while. And then again, I wanted to continue learning. And I'm like, how do I become a bartender? So yeah, he gave me guidelines. Like, first you start as a barback. You need to you need to
Yep.
learn from the bartenders, their trade. So I did that. I started learning spirits, tequilas, vodkas, whiskeys, everything available at the bar. And same thing happened. One day I was like, look, you can test me. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
And I moved to be a bartender.
Mhm.
At the same time, I was still pretty young. So I didn't know exactly if I wanted to stick with hospitality. And I took some courses in real estate.
Okay.
I've told him, like, look, I will love to learn more about that industry. I took my classes. I got my real estate license. And then he came to me. You're really good at this. It comes natural. I would like to offer you a higher position and see where it goes. And at that moment, I had to make a decision and say, okay, I'm going to give myself 100% to being in health. I got a position as a F&B manager in the same resort. Was learning about purchasing beverage, inventories, beverage costs. And I was just exposed to all of those things as a whole, which I really enjoyed. I do like numbers. So this was very interesting to me.
Yeah. So you get to
And
see that because I wanna go to that part, and then not to cut you off there is to make a jump, especially working in the place that you're at, right? The Sea Trail Golf Resort, you've gone all the way through all the different
yes,
positions, you're learning everything in food and beverage, and then you jump to becoming a manager for the first time. Very
yes,
different world than, "Hey, I punch out of my shift and I head home." Right? What
yes.
was that like for you? Was it a hard transition, or did you have good leadership and they taught you everything you needed to know?
I, it was, again, I still have this even today, like motivation to continue learning because I don't think our industry is a book that you can read. And once you're done reading, that's it. I believe I compare it to wine. Wine is a never ending lesson, and so is hospitality. It was challenging, yes, but it was also very rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, because for I think for a lot of first time managers, they think, "Oh, I could do what that manager does. He doesn't know how to make the schedule, or he messes up my payroll all the time." And then they get into that seat and they're like, "Oh man, this is actually a lot more than I thought it
Yes,
was." So it's good to see that you had that energy push through. And you do
yes.
continue to push through, right? So you're in North Carolina and then you make a pretty big change in your life and you come down to our current neighborhood here in South Beach and Miami Beach. How does that happen?
So interesting story. I came with friends to vacation and we stayed at the amazing Fountain Blue,
Classic. Yep.
an eye opening experience. Coming from a small country in Europe, Miami was always it was a dream, like even to be here to see it. And we end up in the Fontainebleau. We had a great week of vacation, and I was just like amazed by the city, and I love it today even more. But the weather, the lifestyle, the beach, it was just amazing. So I was like, I need to save money and move down here. And I try to make some savings, and I did, and literally packed my car with some of my clothes,
Mhm.
and I drive down to Miami. I had no job. I had no friends here. Maybe I had a friend, one, and not really a close friend, but he did help me. But I make the move. I try to find a place and a job at the same time. Yes, I'm not running out of money, but like it's hard to move here without any connections and start over. It was very challenging, but I didn't want to give it up. I knew once I find a position and I get situated, I will make connections and somehow find my way.
That's
And
amazing.
actually, yeah, this is what actually happened. But yeah, very challenging times.
So was your family supportive? Were they still in North Carolina? Or they're like, "Where are you going? You don't know anybody. What's going on?" Or
I
were they
mean,
like,
yeah,
"Go for it. Chase your dreams." How was
they
that?
were supportive because they knew what I wanted wasn't there, and they wanted to make sure that I'm happy with whatever I'm doing. So yeah, I end up moving to Miami.
You moved to Miami 2011 November, and where do you land?
So I kept applying, kept searching for jobs. I knew I had some experience and some knowledge in F&B, and I found a job at the Gansevoort Hotel. There's a small coffee shop that wasn't even part of the hotel. Maybe it was at the hotel, but not part of it.
Mhm.
And it gave me a chance to make a living and remain in Miami. And in that cafe, I met various people, executives from the hotel coming in to get coffee every day, all kinds of various people in hospitality. There was a gym back then in the Gansevoort, which was very popular.
Yeah, what was that
So
called? I forget what it was. Now it's
uh,
Anatomy for
uh,
the One Hotel. It's where the One Hotel was, but what was it called? I remember it was, like, very, like, popular. I forgot the name too. Can't
I
remember.
know. I don't remember. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was like the
the
hot
place to
spot.
be. Yeah. Or
Yeah, it was
gyms,
the
which
hot
was
spot
funny.
of gyms. And I met some good people there who helped me eventually find a position with the short club, Morgan's Hotel Group. And I was at that point, that was the best time of my life. I was like, I'm finally at a hotel where I feel confident and comfortable. And I started there as a F&B manager. At that time, the short club was a huge lifestyle place, a lot of parties,
Yep.
especially by the pool. We had the Red Room, which was a happening nightclub venue.
I partied in there.
Lot,
Yep.
yeah, I'm sure you have. But yeah, I've worked there as a F&B manager for almost 2 years. I continued learning. I believe at the time I took a sommelier class because I always, as I go forward, I always wanted to make myself better with knowledge. And I'm like, if I work in food and beverage, I, I want to learn about wine, right?
Mhm.
It will make me better. So I did that. I got some knowledge in wines. And at some point, a friend of mine who used to work at the St. Regis, who left the St. Regis to open a restaurant in Brickell, asked me if I would join him. And I said, why not? Let's
Yep.
try it. At that time, it was in Brickell. It was Mediterranean French concept. I think it was way before its time.
I think so too. 'Cause that's what I wanna bring up, and I wanna rewind a second before we get into it, because you were at some great restaurants that were I think were just, like, 2 years too early for where they were
Yeah.
supposed to be. But you're in Shore Club, which I love that you're there because that's one of the hot spots, right? You were there. Was Nobu still there, or had Nobu restaurant
Yes.
left?
Noble
So
was
you got
still
to
there.
yeah, so you still got celebrities there all the time, and I worked right next door at the Delano, so it's funny that we didn't run into each other because that was another Morgan's hotel group, so we were running on the same strip at the 2, like, fun lifestyle hotels, and I
Yes.
wish I woulda spent more time there, but they sold the restaurant group to a group out of Las Vegas, and it just didn't work out. But for you,
Yeah.
was there something that really stood out that you learned from that hotel that you still think about today?
Yes, I did learn about pool and beach service, which I had no idea about. I learned about nightlife. So it was, again, a lot of learning experiences and learning curves. I take every opportunity and I learn as much as I can from every brand, every property.
Yep,
I was really wowed by the culture at Morgan's Hotel Group. The onboarding was something I've never seen before.
it was fun.
The way they designed the spaces, it was like, wow, incredible. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, and I worked with Matthew Yakubuchi, my F&B director, and Tim Nardi was the GM.
You had a good team.
Yes, great people to work with.
So then how come you make this change? Because you have a good hotel, and there's different life that people don't realize. Hotel restaurant versus standalone restaurant are 2 different worlds.
Very different.
So how does that come that you join your friend over at Lippy?
The ownership was also part of Zuma Group.
Right.
So I knew I was going into a solid venue. A close friend of mine was the GM. And also it was an opening. I have never done an opening.
Mhm.
And I wanted to go through this. I wanted to experience it and see where it goes. And the offer was great, working with good people, new concept. It was like a match, right? At the beginning. As I later learned, I really do enjoy more working in hotels than standalone restaurants.
Yep.
But nevertheless, openings are very tough. It was a very upscale restaurant, sharing concept. Miami back then, I don't know if it was ready for all of these concepts that we have today.
No, it was
It
not like
was,
that. I remember the opening because my that's when I had my staffing company. I was right across the street from Lippy. I remember going there to get oysters. You had an oyster special that was great. But it was beautiful, multi-million dollar restaurant. The only other thing that really existed like that was Zuma, which was on the other side of the bridge. There wasn't really anything. It was like Morton Steakhouse, and that was like Capitol Grill. There wasn't anything cool like that. So
yeah,
Lippy was like the first one I remember. It was before Komodo and all these other places that are
right.
everywhere now. So you're there for a little bit. You're there, you learn, but then you make a move.
Yes, the venue was not doing great and they had to make some cuts. And I had the hard conversation
Yep.
that my job will probably be eliminated. And then the opportunity came to join Morimoto. It was at the Shelbourne. Also, a great restaurant, great chef. Probably not the right location. If
Yeah, I
you
always
ask me today,
wondered I always wondered about that space because it was, like, by the pool, hidden at the Shelbourne.
yeah. Again, I think Morimoto was more of a style of a Nobu or in the same category. It was in a property where ADR was in the 200s and where your average check is
400s.
Morimoto would be in the hundreds. And again, it just didn't make sense. I understand why they made that deal now. They basically built up the entire place for them. And that's why they went in there. But again, great experiences there. I got to learn about sake. We actually had a course, sake certification course, which obviously I went to take it and got certified. So again, it was another opening, challenging, but again, I learned a lot about Japanese cuisine, Japanese style of service, which was something I didn't know before.
So new location, new learning, and again, it didn't make it. and so
Yeah.
you had to find somewhere to go, and you
So
ended up again, I think this is tied together, right? Weren't Lippy and the next place tied together somehow financially, or is
yeah,
that
oh yeah, yeah. There's similar ownership between Koya Restaurant Membership Lounge and believe Zuma and La Petite Maison. And the restaurant GM came for dinner at Morimoto and we engaged, we made a connection. I went to see the space and the way it was built. And that's how it all worked out that I went to do another opening for another upscale restaurant. And yeah, again, I learned a lot. Um,
but
it
listen,
was
we all
a,
have these weird stints, right? But I think that restaurant was ahead of its time too. It was a membership club
yes,
plus restaurant, which didn't exist in Miami. Now there's a bunch
yeah,
of them, but
yes.
it was beautiful. I sat there, I ate there a couple of times. What do you think about that restaurant that didn't make it? More just curious. What was it? Was it just too early again? Because this was like 2015 and it just
I
wasn't
just,
there?
maybe it was too early. I think, but also the type of cuisine is not that exciting to Miami. We have a lot of Peruvian restaurants in town, and it's not something that I don't know. It would wow the locals to get there.
Right.
But
Yeah, the location was beautiful. I would remember that. But you're right. I don't think the food was what it could have been. Get
could
people
have
coming
been.
back.
I think in a different market, such as Europe, is doing great in Europe. The one in London is a really hot spot. But Peruvian cuisine is very common in Miami. And
A lot of holes in the wall, and you got Ceviche 105. You got a bunch of places to go.
yeah,
So it doesn't make it in the end, listeners. If you didn't know the story, you can look it up. It was short lived. Now there's a steakhouse there with a
yes.
celebrity chef. But I'm
It's
excited
also
about the next move.
it's also with the same group, the steakhouse they have there now. So at least they end up making it with a
All right,
different
that's good
concept.
to know. You see,
Yeah,
it's hard world out in the restaurant world. But
it
you
is.
come back and you join one of my favorite hotels. And are you doing another opening at this time, or was it opened already when you joined?
No, it was an opening.
It was another opening. So you put
Uh,
yourself through the pain of multiple restaurant openings, plus an opening of what hotel are you joining?
obviously, the Faena Hotel, which was creating a buzz around the city of
Yep.
Miami Beach, everywhere. There was so much buzz there. And I happened to know some of the people who were already on the team in food and beverage who were basically like, you have to be here. This is the place to be.
Mm.
And I did the interviews. f- gr- Grateful that everything went well. And I started there in September 2015, I believe, 3, 4 months before the opening. And yeah, from there, it was just an incredible ride, probably the best time of my career so far. I was surrounded by amazing leaders. Some of them have been on your show,
Yep.
uh, and learned so much. Really loved the culture. Even from the beginning, we had no building, we had nothing. We were in different properties across the city. We were at the Ice Palace, we were in the convention center, but the message, the branding was just incredible. So everybody who started there was just consumed by the buzz and by the message, by the mission of Fana. And it was something that didn't exist before. It was a luxury lifestyle hotel, which was probably the first of its kind in Miami.
For sure. I remember walking in there being like amazed during pre-construction. I'm like, wow, this place is crazy. Like they're putting gold leaf up in your pal restaurant.
Right,
I'm like, this is nuts. So
right.
tell me a little bit about that. What was that like opening a hotel that's now award winning, 5 star, 5 diamond? What was it like coming up and joining? Because you had been in a couple restaurants, now you're in a whole different world.
Yeah. So again, I felt much better in the hotel environment because this is where I started everything. But luxury was new to me. Forbes was new to me. All these standards were new to me. But the more I read into this, there were all the standards are nothing out of the ordinary. They all make common sense. It wasn't difficult for me to learn. I think the difficult part was obviously going through all the trainings, not having the building, and but also I had great leadership to learn from and to look up to. But the opening was very challenging. Obviously, I was at PAO. My GM there used to be the FME director at the Biltmore, and it seemed like everybody who came to join Fana took a step down.
Yeah, I interviewed there, like, "You need to take a step back." I was like, "No, thank you. Maybe I should have gone there."
But yeah, learned a lot from my GM.
Is that Michael Poundsbury?
Yes, Michael Bonsbury,
He's a good guy, yes.
great
Shout out
guy.
to Michael Poundsbury.
Shout out to him. Patrick Fernandez was very inspirational. I was like, when I met him for the first time, I was like, wow, I want to be like him one day. Extremely professional, well spoken, polite, always calm, no matter what's going on. And I was like, this is the leader that I want to be one day. So, yeah, again, I was surrounded by great mentors there, which gave me the knowledge I needed to be successful. And that's what happened. I, Michael, after we opened PAL, eventually he moved up to the residential side of Fina, at the
Mhm.
Fina house. So the opportunity came up to become the GM. And obviously, I went for it. I don't know, looking back, I don't know if I was ready, but I knew I had to project the message and make sure my team is on the same direction that Fina was, which is exceptional service, Forbes 5 star, get the 5 star every year. And this was our goal. And we were all on the same page. And it was just wonderful, wonderful.
That's amazing to see because just in a few years of starting your career, you're now GM of one of the most popular restaurants in South Beach, right? You chased your dream. You got down
Yes.
to Miami. You're in the arguably the top hotel, the hottest place. Now you're GM. Did you think, all right, this is what I want to do? Or do you say, man, I really want to continue on and grow? What was your mindset at that time?
I was really like happy with where I was, but I never want to stop learning, even like I said, even
I can
today.
see.
But our goal was to get 5 star for Pao as an independent restaurant. And we came so close a few times. And I really wanted to do that. This was my mission there. And I think this is what helped us become great at the same time. Because even though we never got the 5 star for Pao as an independent restaurant, this is what every single team member there wanted as well. And just as a whole, we become better and delivered. And we won a few awards, not as significant, but yeah, it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah. So you're doing a great job because then you get up to this title that a lot of people in our industry want to get to. It was my goal for a long time. You get to
Yeah,
become director of food and beverage at Faena. How does that come about? Is that something that you fought for? Is it a role they created for you? How does that happen?
quite a few, I believe, directors that went into the role and then left. But being there from the beginning, I, I was, I can, I knew everything about Fana, right?
Yeah. You opened it. You knew
Right.
every plate, every silverware, every chair, the whole thing.
I knew the F&B concepts. I was not afraid to work anywhere, whatever they needed help. And I did work anywhere or and everywhere, whatever help was needed. If I could have power running and go help somewhere else, I would be very open to do that. And I did. And at that time, the COO was also the acting GM. and I've learned. I think I've gotten an incredible amount of knowledge from him. He was like my biggest mentor there for quite a while. Learning numbers, budgets, forecasts. We
And who was that?
Scott Garrity.
Uh,
Yeah, I can't thank him enough even today. But yeah, I learned so much from him. We had a lot of intense conversations, but I enjoyed those as well.
Sometimes those
But
are the best ones.
the best, yeah. But yeah, it was funny because I don't know if you felt that way. People were not very enthusiastic about speaking up to him, but I did, and he liked it. And we had some interesting conversations. But just love learning from him.
Like, I always thought I'm sure same way, as long as it's respectful, I like to hear everyone's point of view, right? As
Of
long as
course,
it's that way, but I prefer that. Tell me, right? I'm sure you're the same way. Now I'm sure your team can come to you and say, "Roddy, I don't know, maybe we should try something different."
of course,
And I'm sure that's how you were coming up, especially if you're in F&B, it's very creative sometimes, you have different points of view, and you wanna try
yes,
different things. Did they allow you to try things at Faena that you wanted to try?
yeah. So this is what I really enjoyed about Fana. It's you are able to be creative and bring an idea directly to the COO, and he says yes. Then that's it. You do it.
Yep.
It doesn't work like this in many properties. There's layers of communications and approvals that you need to get. But this was another another positive and benefit that we had at Fana because we decided what goes on
Yep.
locally. And we did open the concept of the omakase. We created the menu from scratch, worked with the chefs, pricing, beverage, and we made it happen. So this
I
was
love it.
pretty cool as well.
So El Secreto, you get El Secreto open. I've eaten
Yeah.
there. Again, listeners, you can watch the video I did there. Chef Cornell was nice enough to get us in there to film a video, which
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. So you're there. You look, you're at the top of the game in Fina. You're not the GM, but you have the COO right there. You have the ear, your director of food and beverage, and you make an interesting move, right? Another place that has a great brand name. How does that come up?
Yes. Final. It was once I got to the F&B director, it was harder to grow further up because again, it's a property in Miami. There's another one in Buenos Aires, and that's it. And learning the room side of things while being a director of F&B was very challenging. I don't think, not gonna say it's impossible, but it was very hard for me to allow time for myself to start learning new things on the other side. And I just wanted to continue growing. I spoke with Scott and I said, look, I'm gonna look around and if something comes up, and he encouraged me. He's if you stay in the same place for so many years, there's only so much you can learn.
Yep.
And I recommend it. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go, you're gonna learn new things just by being in another building. That was good to hear as well. So I was in touch with a recruiter from Soho House, and they had a position of AGM. I made connections with the general manager, and it worked out.
Amazing. So then you make this move. You're at Soho, which to me and still to a lot of people is like this magical world they're not sure if they can get into. There's always like
Right.
celebrities there, hotspots. Do I have to be a member? Do I not have to be a member?
Yeah.
What was that like for you now going in at a higher role? It's a smaller hotel, right? At 50
Yeah.
room, really a scene, membership, restaurants, pool, beach, demanding people.
Yeah.
The footprint isn't the biggest footprint, so you have to make a lot work with a smaller place.
Yes. Yes.
What was it like for you getting into there?
Very interesting and challenging. You, uh, I was in luxury for 7 years. Yes, we have a part of lifestyle, but still a luxury.
Premier
Then
luxury too. Yes.
yes, and then to make the change to a private membership club, very challenging. But I started and I spoke with my GM and I said, look, I want to work in every single department and I want to see how everything operates. So that's what I did. I try to understand how the front desk operates, how membership operates, how all the departments work, and try to be patient, learn as much as I can, and also follow his lead, see how he operates, and learn from him, fit in with the team, understand the brand, understand the concept. But yeah, it was not very easy. It was difficult, but
Yeah.
worth it. It
So
was
if you were
another.
giving advice, if you were giving advice, 'cause I've been in this, but at a lower level where I leave an ultra luxury hotel to go to a nice hotel, and you catch yourself like, "Oh, we used to do it like this over here. Like, why don't we do that here?" Did you ever catch yourself saying that, or did you know going in that wasn't going to be the mindset?
No, honestly, if I have to, you have to go anywhere with an open mind and start and learn everything from scratch.
Mhm.
And if you see that there are changes you can make to benefit the operation, then you can do that later. But to go in and say, we did this like that, this way, that way. No, first you have to understand the brand, understand the concept, understand how it operates, learn everything there is, and then try to improve it step by step.
So you're there, you're working there as a AGM, you're learning this place, and then you make a move up. So you're doing a good job. What is it that you think made you get to this role? Because I'm sure, like everyone in hotels, from the day you were at the staffing company, that AGM, you were looking to become a general manager. How did that happen?
You have to have a lot of patience. I think that's a quality that everybody oversees, but you have to be positive. You have to be open minded and just continue learning. But yeah, if you have those qualities, I think you can go far in hospitality. I know it's a very fast paced industry. Patience uh, is very important. When my general manager at the time he was actually an area general manager. He was overseeing the development of the new house that's soon to open, and also another house in Caribbean, which is Canaan, as well as the beach house. And he was also always assisting any other houses that may need help. So he was traveling a lot, but again, he was an incredible mentor that I learned a lot from. And what I took from him is his positivity, regardless of anything that's going on. He always had a positive mindset, and the team just fed into it.
I
So
love it. I think that's
yeah,
great advice for people to hear. So now that you're general manager, and do you remember the first day sitting in that chair? Did you feel different that day? Did you take in a moment to soak it in? Like, wow, I'm general manager of the Soho House here in Miami Beach. Or was it like another day for you?
no, I definitely took the time to soak it in, and I don't think anybody's ready for their first general manager role.
Yep.
Or maybe they are, but
I think most people are, like you said, it's like the first time you went into a restaurant as a GM, like, all right, I'm going to take it and you learn it. Right. So I think it's the same thing.
yeah, sometimes like I still couldn't believe it. This is my title now. But yeah, definitely took time to soak it in. Yeah.
I love it. And so you're there, you're at Soho House now. We see a lot, like I think it was on the news recently, membership clubs are exploding everywhere. And you have one of the premier ones in the country, if not on the planet, that seems like everybody wants to be at. How do you handle that and really motivate your team to keep up the standards in a place that's so busy?
Yeah. By being positive, being consistent with the message. We cannot control things that we cannot control. So let's focus on everything we can control and make it better. And project the same message in the most difficult times consistently every day and try to get the best out of everyone.
I love that. And
Yeah.
so, look, you spent a lot of time with me. I know how busy you are. But I've got one last question for you, Roddy. So if young Roddy was leaving Bulgaria, was arriving here in South Beach for the first time, and was at the doors, Soho House, what advice are you giving to him? He was starting his career today.
Definitely never give up. Anything is possible, and everybody comes to this amazing country to live the American dream, and it's still alive even today. So never give up. Keep going. Keep working towards your dream, and it will happen.
Gosh, I love that. I think it's just great advice for anybody listening, especially if you're starting out. I love watching your journey because it shows anything can happen.
Yeah,
Like you said, if you're in a staffing company right now, you're working as a banquet server, who knows? In 12, 14 years, you could be a GM of your own hotel as well if you really put in
sure,
the work.
absolutely.
So, Roddy, if somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do it? Is it just showing up at Soho House and asking for you, or are they going to get kicked out? How can someone connect?
Through LinkedIn, be the best way. But yeah, most of the time at Soho House.
Yeah. Listeners, take the time if you're not driving. Take a moment to pause, look up the beautiful Soho House in Miami Beach. It is a beautiful place to be. And if you have the chance to visit, make sure to do that. Roddy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very grateful for you spending this time with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.